Now, for the first part, we're going to talk just about who I've lost. Because for me to talk about the other stuff, I have to first tell these stories. And from there, we'll develop it more. For the most part, I really haven't experienced death in my life, which is probably a good thing. In 2003, my dad's dad passed away. I never met him. He lived in, I think, South Carolina or North, I don't even know. I never met him. And we're from California. So it really didn't affect me. I mean, obviously it bummed out my dad and that affected me. But for the most part, because I didn't know him, what am I going to say? In 2005, my mom's mom passed away of cancer. And when she passed away, it was her second actual bout with cancer. It was not, it had gone in remission and come back. I mean, there had been, I think, a decade or decade and a half span between the different cancers. She had had cancer when I was really young, when I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. And I remember being young and asking if she just needs some 7-Up for an upset stomach, not realizing she was really sick. Now, I didn't realize it then, but, she had part of her lung removed. She passed away when I was 19. She was actually buried on her birthday, which is kind of fucked up. But because she had had cancer, we'd been able to kind of wrap our minds around it. And we kind of, I don't want to say accepted, but we knew it was coming and we knew it was going to happen. Fast forward to my time in the Marine Corps. When I was in Iraq, the war was pretty much over there. And fortunately, no one on that deployment was killed. So it really kind of, that was a nice, smooth deployment. But when we went to Afghanistan, it was a lot more kinetic, a lot more active. There were a lot more IEDs. And my battalion lost 3 Marines in the process. I knew one of them pretty well. He'd been in my shop for a little while. And when he died, it definitely hit hard. The other 2 I really didn't know. But when we got back to stateside, I remember someone that I'd gone through boot camp with was killed over there. And that really did kind of send a shockwave into me. Now, I avoided all the memorial services because I just didn't want to go to them. It really wasn't until this year that I personally experienced death, though. Before then, it had been, just people I known, or people I didn't know, or we'd had time to think about it, or whatever. We're able to wrap our minds around it. And it really wasn't until April of this year, my grandmother passed away, my dad's mom. And that was a shock. She was in her 80s. She wasn't living a very good life. She was living on her own in a trailer park that was getting more and more mean to her. She'd gone back into smoking, and one night she called 911. She had shortness of breath. We just thought she was, overreacting or something. But then we figured out, oh no, she had a heart attack. As the weekend went on, it went from, rolling our eyes, like, oh, she went to the hospital, whatever, to this full-blown, like, oh no, she had a heart attack, to, we don't know if we can operate without killing her, or if we operate, she's going to lose her legs. Started Saturday morning. On Sunday evening, we went to the hospital and said our last goodbyes. That hurt. I don't think I'd ever seen my dad cry in my entire life. I'm not saying he did or didn't, I just don't remember seeing it. And when his mom passed away, I remember we were crying on each other's shoulders. That sucked. That sucked bad. In June of this year, my dad passed away suddenly. He was overweight. He had been trying to lose weight, he'd been doing some pretty hard workouts, and he collapsed while working out. He was taken to the hospital. I drove my mom to the hospital. We went and met up with them, and I remember, being calm and collected about it all, thinking, you know, because he'd had this issue with potassium deficiency, thinking all they needed to do was just, you know, pump an IV bag into him and he'd be fine. We get there and we find out it's a whole lot worse than we originally thought. First thing that happened was I dropped my mom off at the hospital door so she can go in, and you know, she had brought along his medicine in case if you know, because you never know how medicines react and the doctor needs to know what you're on. You know, she goes in and I park the car. I come in and there's a distraught look on her face. The doctor takes us into a consultation room and tells us he's not going to make it. They had been doing chest compressions on him and his heart was not continuing to beat. That's pretty much, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but even I know, hey, it's about as bad as it gets. They take us out of the consultation room, we go over to where he was, I see them pushing on him, and the only movement coming from his body was the movement of the doctors pushing on him, and I realized he was gone. I just walked down to the hallway and started crying. That sucked. Pretty fucking bad. I remember I ended up being the one to tell a few people. I remember being the one who, I went and got my sister from work and I told her. I remember I told my aunt, my dad's sister, and it sucked. There's really no good way to break the news to somebody. There's really no easy way to tell somebody, yeah, this person you've known your whole life, this person you love, is now dead. There's really no way to tell people that. I also remember really not doing anything for the rest of the day. Just kind of sitting in my room and staring at the computer. I remember when I first got home, I just sat in a chair in the front yard. This dirty, filthy chair that we never sat in. I remember being very much so in a daze. I remember, you know, just randomly crying. Well, that's it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. I'll try to get videos in pretty quick. This one I've actually pretty well thought out, so there's going to be a little bit of a series. Thanks for watching.